What's up? I'm Lyrie, and this is a video. Before we get into it, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all the support. Seeing all the comments from people really makes my day, and I'm always excited for the next video. The time that I made this video, I had 34 subscribers, and I mean, now I have 44 subscribers, and that's pretty amazing, I think. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider it. Now, to actually get into it, in today's video, I wanted to talk about what it's like working for Doordash. Now, I don't actually work for Doordash, I can't have a job yet, but I help my brother out with his job, and he drives around for Doordash. Over the past few months of quarantine, we've been driving around, you know, to get that shmoney, driving around in his 20-year-old sedan, and dropping off food at houses around where we live. More recently, however, I've been accompanying him on these journeys, being no doubt very useful, as I hold the phone for Google Maps, and sometimes I drop off food. And you'd think this would be an easy task, but no. No, you couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, you know that most DoorDash customers are just normal people trying to eat, but those token few are just, like, messed up. And most of the time, customers are understanding when you're late, and there's actually an order that we had that took around, like, 20 minutes over the estimated time, but I'll get into that later. There are the occasional outliers, you know, which are, for lack of a better term, the idiots of DoorDash. And you'd think that people who are constantly ordering through DoorDash would know that, like, there's times when the restaurant takes forever to make the food, but, I mean, sometimes they don't know. Oh my god, wait, I could actually get first here. Hey, Pog, let's go. Anyway, but no, in fact, these people do not know that DoorDash deliveries can take more time than estimated, and they don't tip you at all, so you can get like $3 for delivering $20 of food, and that actually happened to us once. We had to pick up food from this Thai place, and my brother said it's like really good, and we were getting like $3 from it, so we were like, alright, this is gonna be a pretty small order. And the thing is, like, with DoorDash, you can't really see what the person's ordered until you pick it up, unless you scroll through this huge list on the app. So my brother went into this restaurant expecting a super tiny package. That was a lag spike, okay. Expecting a super tiny package with maybe like an item or two in it, and I stayed in the car. And little did either of us know, he would come out like a solid 10 minutes later with a 30-pound box of food that I would have to have rest on my knees, you know, cringing at every single speed bump as I would get compressed further into my chair. And then we get to these apartments, which is, by the way, a great place to be carrying around a 30-pound box of Thai food behind me as we try to find this guy's apartment, by the way. And we knock on the door, and he doesn't answer. And then we knock again, and he still doesn't answer. And then my brother calls him, and he doesn't pick up. And thankfully, I guess, the second time we call him, he picks up, and he opens the door, and he's like, oh, thanks, and then hangs up on the phone, and then goes to grab the food, but it's like he didn't realize how heavy it was, and so he, like, started staggering into the door frame, and, I mean, I would say it's funny, but, I mean, he did pay us a whole $3, although I think that kind of an experience was worth a little bit more than, you know, $3. I'd say at least $4. So the next story that I was gonna tell was a little bit different. Oh my god, wait, am I gonna get first again? Hey, let's go. So the next story I wanted to tell was a little bit different, on the nice side of things. Well, nice is actually a pretty strong word. The actual trip was a little terrifying. Especially since my brother drives an old— why am I lagging so much? My brother drives an old sedan, and we had like $1,000 in wine sitting in the back of his car. Anyway, so this was another kind of out-of-the-blue order, where we headed down to this tiny mall near where I live, and it was in this discount wine store, and normally that's not something DoorDash drivers do. I mean, sometimes we deliver groceries from the Safeway, but like a whole wine store, that's not really the norm. So we get to the store, and my brother heads in, and I stay sitting in the car. It's taking a little longer than usual, so I'm just chilling in the car, scrolling through Instagram, when I see my brother come out with a cart full of 2 boxes of wine and a bag with another bottle in it, so we're just stood there in the parking lot like, well, great. And we loaded the super expensive bottles into the backseat of the car and drove off onto the freeway, cringing at every speed bump, like I said with the last thing, but obviously for quite different of a reason. And I'm sat there in the front seat holding for dear life onto this no doubt very expensive wine bottle as we drive across the freeway so it doesn't break. And I mean, the boxes in the back were pretty well packed, so it's not as though like those were gonna mess up, so that was okay, I guess. I mean, I guess the only comedical part about this whole thing was that we were driving almost more money in wine than the car itself was actually worth. And I mean, they gave us a $20 tip, so it's fire, but we get to this house and the woman opens the door and says like, "Oh wow, my husband must have gone a little crazy." Like that's your reaction to suddenly being $1,000 richer in grape juice? I mean, okay, I guess. And I mean, there wasn't anything really wrong with the lady. Like, she was super nice to the both of us, and the $20 tip is, of course, nice, for my brother at least. But I haven't even gotten to some of the worst people, and they're always the ones who order from, like, the hardest to access places as well. Like, there's this one sushi place that takes, like, 12 years to make a meal, and then they get super angry at you if you tell them, like, "Oh, can you make your order?" And then they don't make the order, and so you have to wait for 12 years to get this order done. So I guess to close off the video, I'll end with the story of how a lady hit my brother and threatened to call the cops on him. And I guess I should start by saying that this isn't technically Doordash's fault, since, you know, there isn't really a way they can control that kind of thing. But there was this really rude customer that we had to deliver to one time who had ordered something that took a really long time to make, but we still managed to get it in the on-time range, you know? Because we were speedy. But the thing is, when we got to the apartment building, by the way, apartment buildings and Doordash are not the best mix. I'm pretty sure you're kind of aware of that by now. And I stayed in the car to get ready for our next pickup, and my brother headed in, expecting for it to be a pretty quick delivery. So he walked into the apartment complex and knocked on the door, only for this lady to right away open the door and start yelling something about how my brother looks suspicious, even though he's trying to just deliver this food to her, you know? So this yelling continues for a while, and I'm out here just chilling in the car while my brother faces the final boss of Doordash and comes out towards me and gets in the car like, "We gotta go." Apparently the lady like pushed him away and threatened to call the cops on him, and there was another Doordash driver in the building who like walked behind him while he was trying to deliver it. And so she threatened them to call the cops because she thought they looked suspicious. I'm really glad I chose not to go with him on that order. I mean, that would have been fun to say the least. I genuinely have no idea how she could have thought he was threatening, especially since he was holding her Chipotle, but I guess I'm not one to judge. But that brings us to the end of Doordash stories. While I might not directly work for them, I still have a lot of weird memories that came from helping my brother out with his job. I also think I'm gonna try out live streaming in the near future, so if you guys want to check that out, I'll probably try it for the first time in a couple of weeks. It'd be super fire if you do choose to come along. And also, a little bit of a flex, but I have amazingly talented friends. I don't know if you guys noticed in the last video, but I had a fire end card made by Sparky, which, I mean, it should be popping up now. So thank you so much, Sparky, for the amazing end card. If you want to go subscribe to her, I'll link her in the description. And yet again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed and consider subscribing.